This is biochar, a powerful soil amendment that is currently a bit of a hot topic but has its roots in ancient civilizations built upon continuously fertile soil. And so today we're going to talk about what it is, how to make it, and how to use it. So what is biochar? Looking at it, you might be inclined to think that it's just charcoal, and your instincts are mostly right. Biochar is kind of like charcoal's fancy cousin that is mostly the same with a few small anatomical differences, and an entirely different purpose. It has been used for thousands of years, dating back to the indigenous people of the Amazon who enriched their soil with terra preta, black earth, which is still feeding the soil in that region today. It's made by heating up woody materials in a controlled low oxygen environment, which can be done in a wide variety of ways, ranging from a top-down burn, aka a pit in the ground that you add a ton of wood to, a small kiln or retort, all the way up to a full-on biochar reactor or drum system. The process is all the same, and it's called pyrolysis. This is different from combustion, wherein you want a lot of oxygen and airflow, like when cooking over an open fire. Pyrolysis comes from two Greek words, pyro meaning fire, and lysis meaning separation or loosening. So in a similar manner to how compost breaks down food scraps, greens, and wood chips into a usable fertilizer, pyrolysis is the process of burning off all the oils, resins, and other elements in the woody material to leave behind either pure carbon or as pure as is reasonably possible. In the simplest of forms, combustion is a high oxygen burn and pyrolysis is a low oxygen burn. The biggest difference from charcoal comes towards the end of the process, where it is activated or quenched. This crucial step rapidly cools the biochar using water, which not only stops the burn but also activates the biochar by opening up microscopic pores, creating a vast surface area ideal for retaining nutrients and microorganisms in the soil. A few ounces of biochar can have an internal surface area the size of a football field, and all of that space will eventually be filled with life and slow-release nutrients. But first, let me show you how I make it in my small urban garden. While I've previously made biochar in a big open grill, I recently upgraded to a small kiln to make the process easier and a little more hands-off. I'm filling it up with logs and twigs that I've been collecting from both my trees and shrubs from the surrounding area. And a huge help for me in this process is my mini chainsaw, as it helps me to even out the size of my material so that everything is charred at around the same time. All of the wood needs to be fully dry, because while you can turn green lumber into biochar, it takes so much more energy to evaporate the moisture, so it's just a better idea to let them dry by themselves first. You can see from these logs that I just cut down the huge difference between the dry wood and the green wood, made most obvious by the color. When filling up the kiln, I fill in a lot of the gaps with bits of brown paper to get the fire going easily, and then use an electric lighter to get things going. A torch is also great, but avoid using any accelerants like lighter fluid. Once the fire is really cooking, I put the lid on and then let everything burn down. You can add new material when you see that the previous layer has a bit of ash, and to be honest, this is the hardest part of the process, as adding too much can kill the fire, but with practice, you'll figure it out. Once the fire has died back, it's time to generously douse your wood. You don't want any lingering heat, and remember, this is the part of the process that greatly increases the surface area that will house your future microorganisms. You should be able to pick up the coals once the steam has subsided, and while you don't need to fully crush it, it will increase the accessible surface area for your plants. I find this is most easily done by putting all of the biochar into a wheelbarrow or something with a somewhat flat surface, and then using a heavy weighted tamper to just smash it all down. And now we can move on to how to use it. Biochar's massive surface area is a blessing and a curse, because if you were to put it directly into the soil like this, it would take up all of your soil's nutrients, moisture, and microbes and reduce plant growth for a season or two, leaving you with yellow leaves and a greatly reduced yield. Therefore, charging it is the most important step before using it in the garden, which can be done in a wide variety of ways. You can brew up a batch of worm tea or compost tea and let it soak for a few days, and then mix it into your soil or wherever you're using it. If you have chickens or livestock, it makes a wonderful bedding, which will also lead to it getting charged over time by their urine and manure, and then you can either compost this or add it right into your soil. Similarly, if you don't need to use it very soon, you can mix it into your worm bins or your compost bins, and as the respective composting processes finish, your biochar will be charged up and ready. The added benefit of doing this is that it basically extends the lifespan of your compost, compost, as biochar can take centuries if not millennia to fully decompose, which means they will feed and enrich your soil long after you're gone. This is mainly what I'm doing today, as I already have some crushed up biochar on hand, but I do still have a lot of compost in the works that I will be adding to my summer garden when I refresh the soil and prep for that. It really is such a powerhouse amendment, and we've only just scratched the surface by talking about its use in sustainable organic gardening. It's also widely used for soil remediation in contaminated areas, and it is one of the most promising means of carbon sequestration available today. Just remember, while a kiln or fancy setup is useful, you can make your own with something as simple as a big pit in the ground, so as long as you have something to turn into biochar, you should absolutely try making it.
I hope this video has been helpful for you and it's inspired you to either make your own or start your own biochar journey in other ways. As always, if you like this video, make sure you give it a like as well as subscribe to the channel, and let me know down in the comments. Is this something that you'll be adding to your garden, or are you going to take it to the next step and make it yourself? This has been Aaron, aka Garden Zaddy, and I'll see you on the next one.